and welcome to another live episode of Life of the People, produced by the Museum of English Rural Life. Inspired by Dorothy Hartley, we're travelling around meeting heritage cultural practitioners, especially those of arts that are not quite as prevalent as they once were. And so with me is a living example of one of these arts, a master craftsman who is now going to introduce himself. Off you go.
Hi, I'm Alan Waters. I'm a charcoal burner coppice worker, and I've been doing it most of my life.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. And we are joined, as before, by the inimitable...
Hi, I'm Myah. I was Alan's apprentice for the day, and I'm not a charcoal burner.
So we're going to start today by having a look at what Myah and Alan got up to yesterday, as Myah was being taught all the ways of the collier, now known as charcoal burner. And if you have any questions, either for Alan about his craft or Myah about her attempt at the craft, please do start popping them into the live YouTube chat, which is down below if you're on a tablet or mobile, and over there if you're on a desktop. And we will join you after this. It's over here, folks, if you want to watch.
Hi, Myah.
Hi, I'm
Alan
Myah.
Waters,
Alan Waters, nice
Master
to meet
Collier. No, correct name.
you. Yeah. So, what will we be doing today?
We're going to light up one of these, which is a Exeter retort, which makes charcoal in 24 hours. You won't get dirty, but you'll get smelly.
Okay.
Okay, we promise that.
Looks cool.
We've now filled this,
Yeah.
so we'll shut the
wood.
door,
Yeah.
bolt it up, and then we'll start the fire, and we'll be burning the pallet wood over there. We've
Okay.
got some broken up, and then I'll let you try your strength on breaking some.
Okay.
That's what apprentices are for.
Yeah. With the traditional one,
Yeah.
it does the same thing as this?
Same thing.
Yeah, it does the same
It just takes longer,
Yeah.
and this way we burn off all the toxins. There are
they
more
don't
of
mind.
these. This one is number 1. So and then there are now 36 out there, I think they said.
So will this one smell? So
You'll smell.
What does it smell like?
Well, I'll put it this way. Sometimes when I've been working it and I've gone into a supermarket, people are going, "It's a bonfire somewhere."
Oh really?
And
So
I
it's
just go,
just,
"Sorry, it's me."
what does it do inside this to create
It cooks.
black stuff? It just cooks.
Yeah. Well, if you think it goes into cosmetics, do you wear eyeshadow?
Yeah.
It's got charcoal in it.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, I can see how it would kind of be used for eyeshadow. Smoky eyes.
Yeah, and then we do.
Go on, put some on.
So it is actually just really burnt wood, isn't it?
No, it's
No?
not burnt.
No, it's not.
If you burn wood, what do you get?
No, ash, like ash. Or
That's
something.
right.
Yeah, ash.
So
yeah.
we don't want ash.
So
we
by
want that.
cooking it,
Yeah.
it turns into that.
So if you put that in a stove, and it will go to 1200 degrees. That's why it was so important. That's why when I always tell people, it's that stuff, charcoal, that changed the world. Because not up to then you didn't have metal. You either had wood or you had flint, and all of a sudden you can make knives, spears. You know, you can draw with it.
Yeah,
That's
it
the thing.
stays.
Yeah.
You know, you said in the traditional burn, obviously it pollutes
Yeah.
because it just comes out. How does this stop it from polluting?
So the gas from that wood will cook it.
Oh, so it's
So
the gas
with-
that
Yeah.
cooks it
And so most of the pollutants come straight back down again.
into this.
Yeah.
Ah. What do we have here?
We have a pimp,
A pimp?
and a pimp is silver birch and hazel. It's very good for getting a fire started very quickly. Do you know how to set a fire?
Not really. I do.
Well, you were going
know the
guy.
basics. I did do brownies.
Oh, well,
I did
that's it,
do
you know how to-
brownies.
Like this.
Can you put one of these?
Yeah. The
Rest on
top
it?
wood on top, that's it.
And where do you put the
Just
match?
Just light paper.
Light paper.
What did you blow it out for? You just throw it in there.
I was thinking about burning my hands.
No!
It really is quite traditional. And I just send it to burn.
If you go and put those bits
Yeah.
on your end.
Ooh. That does smoke.
It's going to be a bit smoky to start with.
Yeah. It's nice to like work so outdoors. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. I'm proud.
Can you operate a handsaw?
I can try.
Okay. It's supposed to move.
I'm doing a bit slower than you do.
You don't want the fire to go out.
Oh, okay. Let's go for it now.
What's coming out of those is coming from the inside chamber. What's coming out of the big one is coming from the fire. Yeah, we're up to 46.
Is that good?
Oh yeah. Well, it's not been lit long. And then when it's gassing, we have to keep it below 500
Okay.
because that's hot.
Right, okay.
It doesn't do her any good.
Smoke does get in your eyes.
It won't hurt you.
No.
Well, I'm an asthmatic.
Oh, really?
And when I go to the clinic, they say to me, "Do you smoke, Alan?" And I just go, "No, 3 or 4 kilns a week."
So how long do you have to keep feeding it for before it?
So it'll be a couple of hours.
A couple of hours before it then just...
We need to get the temperature right out.
Yeah.
We're not in the hundreds yet.
Right, yeah. It's satisfying to watch it burn.
Can you feel how moist it is?
Oh, yeah.
And that's just the water coming out.
So then is charcoal wood with all the things taken out of it?
Yep, all the water comes out. So out of this lot, you've probably got over 100 gallons of water to come out of the wood.
Wow.
And it'll go up as steam. Then later on, all the impurities come out. And again, once we put the caps back on, that's burnt off with the gas going back in.
Science.
Okay, we're up to 400.
Okay.
Cup of tea?
Way. Cup of tea, yeah. I need the loo. I'm guessing it's just going. No, I'm completely fine. I was just checking. I'll just go and wander. So how do you know when it's done?
Well, on this one, it's on temperature. But on the other one, it's by the smoke and the smell of it. This one's gone grey at the end, and it smells differently now.
And it smells differently, and then that's when you know. The gas just then comes out to the end. Oh, is it doing it?
Can you hear a noise?
Yeah.
That's gas building up. See the flame going across under the plate?
Yeah.
That's gas.
Write that down.
Yep.
11:30. Gas.
If you get up now and come across and open it up.
Yep, this end. So
Okay.
that way?
Yep.
Oh, so now it's kind of like a yellowy colour.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are hot now. So what's the next step we have to do?
Well, we're just control it.
Control the temperature.
And then after a while, it just sort of settles for a while. If we go up now and load the mare, and then we'll build a section of a traditional burn for you to see.
Okay.
And then maybe one day you'll qualify enough to come back and help. Okay.
Around.
Shall I get some L plates out? You take that one.
Okay.
Don't spill it.
How do you not do that?
Just balance
Be
it.
good.
Concentration. Right, what we're going to do is pick some of these other ones. Right, now you can put some bits up against it. And as we bring it across, we have to do that evenly so it doesn't fall one way.
Right, yeah. Okay.
And then you can bring some more.
As many?
Oh yeah.
Oh dear. There we go.
What we do, we add some of these brown ends in here.
And that's what would get it going.
Yeah.
What are brown ends?
It's
These bits.
a piece of wood
Yeah.
that's not quite cooked. So it's
not charcoal yet.
It's not charcoal. You see the colour in it?
Yeah.
That browny colour? That means it's not cooked.
And how like obviously this is like the centre part. To make it as big as you do, you just put more and more wood, and that's
And
what
then we
makes it
build
go
that
up.
up higher and higher. It'll be about that high when we do it in August.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and 30 odd feet wide.
Do you need more?
A lot more, yeah.
A lot more.
Yeah. Would you want to use the tractor?
There you go. Yeah, this I could do. It's a bit lighter.
Have you checked the temperature?
Oh, no, not in a while. Okay, that seems okay, I think. It's on 467.8, that's okay. We don't have to close it or open it. Will it burn these bits of wood?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it will burn all the inside of the wood.
Yeah.
That's why you have to make it so big.
Yeah.
How much more?
We're nowhere near it yet.
Do you know how they came up with this, do you think? Do you have any theories?
I've got my own theory. When people used to cook outside, to keep the fire going at night, they brought the ashes over the top of it. So it held the fire for the evening
Yeah.
or the night sort of thing. And when they got there in the morning, there would be these black lumps, which you could just go and it caught again.
Oh, they blow it and it would go back to life.
Okay.
Done yet?
Yeah. No, we're not done yet. Just check the temperature, can you?
Oh, yes. 460.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's in there?
This is the soil from lots of other roads.
Oh, that's what's left, is it, afterwards?
So it's all sieved out. So it makes a nice covering of soil for the burn.
And what does that do? What does it do?
That
Just
makes,
protects it?
Yeah, it just protects it, so it holds the heat in for us. And we pat it into place. And what we do when we're doing it complete, we'd actually be spraying some water on as well, just to hold it all tight.
To hold it. Cool.
All right.
Yeah, it's good.
Does it give you an idea?
Yeah, it does. I can definitely envision how it was originally done. So, because that has to burn for quite a lot more time, what happens to it now and then?
Well, I'll stay with it
Yeah.
and just control the gas, and I'll keep it going to about 6 o'clock. You can stay or you can go down to the pub. You know, I'm quite generous to my apprentices.
That's nice.
No, it's only worth one of us staying to watch it.
Yeah.
You know,
I'll go and have a drink.
that's it. You two.
And it just crumbles as it.
It's absolutely perfect when it's like that.
Good to know.
It's good for you. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's in a lot of things. Apparently it's in toothpaste as well. Yeah.
Toothpaste, soap, chemical, cheese, biscuits.
Wow. It's a nice colour. I like it. It's a kind of like goes a silvery shiny.
So you're pleased with your results?
I'm pleased with my results.
So you lit it at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And it's nearly 9 o'clock now.
I know, it's 24
The following
hours.
morning, 24 hours, you've got 160 kilos of charcoal.
Yeah.
You've had 24 hours, so you're just learning. I wouldn't leave you with a retort by yourself.
No, I wouldn't let you. No, it's been great. I've learned. It's definitely something I knew nothing about before, and now when I see it in shops, I'm like, I know how that's
You'll
made.
appreciate it.
Yeah, and I can see how it's a fundamental thing that people now need to make other things, which actually if we didn't know this then life would be a bit more difficult for us. So it's good, thank you very much.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah.
And we are back in, what's this place? The Pickled Barn, is that right?
The pickle yard.
Pickled Yard, there we are, Pickled Yard. And yes, we are sitting next to the man who is responsible for the inside of my car, currently smelling like a skip load of Lapsang Souchong. I'm actually quite impressed by the fact that Myah is still wearing the same clothes that she was wearing yesterday.
Not
What's the smell like for you?
Same jumper.
Same jumper.
Which has taken a while before the smell has left it.
Yeah, the smell does take a while to leave. Yeah, we're going to be washing that out for a time to come yet. Just sort of on that note, how does it affect you socially being a charcoal burner?
Well, if I leave a burn, people do notice the smell. But if you go somewhere and you say you're a charcoal burner, people who are doing far more interesting jobs will say, "You're doing what?" And then they want to know all about it. And Joe said, "I steal all the conversations because everybody wants to know what I'm doing."
So the good news is it's completely the opposite to the story of Charcoal Nil that we were telling last week, where the charcoal burner is sort of ostracised because of the smell and the soot all over him. You were telling us actually that there are quite a few wealthy colliers out there, is that right?
Yeah, in the old days they weren't poor people because they were producing stuff that the industry need, people wanted, the blacksmith wanted. So it was quite a big industry, and they were well respected. They had houses to go back to in the winter, apart from anything else. So they were good guys as far as I'm concerned. And when people say they destroyed the forest, well, I'll give you an axe and a tree butt and see how quickly you can get that down to 6 inch, 1 metre lengths. So it was only the small stuff they used, anything under 9 inches. So yeah.
Yeah, well, we saw quite a lot of that yesterday, actually.
The
little twigs and things that were being brought into play,
Yeah.
for various different jobs as well. But even though I guess it got taken over by coal production, didn't it? Who even stole your name? And obviously there are all sorts of different fuels around now, but there is quite a sociable aspect to it, which I know you mentioned quite a lot to Myah yesterday, and we didn't have time to put it in the video just there. So could you talk a little bit about some of the other colliers out there and what you get up to, especially in August?
Well, on August the 11th, it is our patron saint's day of charcoal burners.
Who is the patron saint of charcoal burners?
Saint Alexander, sorry.
Ah, okay.
He was a bishop, he was a poor man, he was a rich man who gave up his goods, became a charcoal burner. So when they were looking for a bishop of a certain area, it's in Italy, I can't remember the name, they said, well, we want him, Saint Alexander then. And so he was appointed bishop, and eventually he was burnt at the stake. So, but when we have this,
it's quite ironic being a charcoal
burner,
burner.
yeah.
Or a fitting end, I'm not sure.
Yeah, and then in August we celebrate his day, and we have an traditional earth burn, a ring kiln and the retort, and a little retort as well. We also, it's become quite a social event because lots of charcoal burners get together. So it's really, really nice for us all to be together and just talk charcoal.
Is there much to talk about?
Oh yeah, you'd be surprised. There's all those little hints that come out that somebody else has tried and it works. So it is good, and the food's good. The lads drink the alcohol. I won't touch it, not while I'm burning.
Did you cook it all on site with the charcoal?
Yeah, we used to. Well, we have a log fire as well, but we do have a barbecue going. So everything is cooked. Sadly this year, Antonio Coluccio won't be joining us, but he used to bring all his own red wine and all the food. And it was great, it really was.
Yummy.
Yeah.
I'm guessing when you have that festival, you actually build the earth burn that you were talking to Myah about, what was it, 30-foot wide?
Yeah, this one's going to be a big double unit
to
celebrate 40 years, as I say. So it'll be about 30 foot wide and probably 12 foot high, something like that anyway.
And I'm guessing then that it's kilns like that, or burns as you keep calling them. I'm kind of confused by the terminology here, but they are the same thing, right?
They're the same thing.
Good.
Yeah.
It's kilns like that are the reason why colliers used to have to stay up overnight to keep an eye on them. Am I right?
Yeah, well, I think most charcoal burners, we'll call them colliers then.
Let's reclaim that name. Let's put it back where it deserves to be.
It would probably be a family unit. So you've got to remember, we just do one, and they would probably have one going, taking one apart and building another. So only one person stayed up at night probably with it. And they would be big ones as well, 30 foot plus. So it would just be a family thing. You know, they just lived on site because it was more convenient.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't have motorbikes or cars. They walked. Yeah, so that was the difference.
So quite a convenient job as well if you wanted to be like Saint Alexander and sort of have a little hermit's retreat.
Well, I suppose so, yeah. You've got to remember he was a bishop, so he probably didn't.
Well,
yeah.
But now the reason I was asking that question is because both Maggie on Twitter, I think, and also Peter, last time we were with Peter the blacksmith, were wondering whether Myah would be staying up overnight. And you probably noticed in that video, Myah didn't have to stay up overnight with the... I keep want to call it a rotund, but it's not a rotund, is it?
It's a retort.
I've got to get that right. And in that retort at the or this morning when we came back to join you, you said there are 160 kilograms of charcoal, and given how light one piece of charcoal feels, that gives you an idea of just how much is in there. Can you put a cost to that? Because I know that was your question, wasn't it?
Well, 160. Come on, Myah, divide that by 3.
I can't do maths.
This is what apprentices are for.
Well, let's say it's probably about £400 worth.
Wow. Okay.
So it's timesing it by 3.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. So yeah.
Well, it's the bags that you sell.
Yeah.
So if we can sell them directly to the public, they're £8 a bag.
Gotcha. And you're selling it to be used as
Barbecue charcoal, and then we regrade the fines again, and that goes as biochar for composting and all that sort of thing. We've actually just started to supply a vineyard because they're organic and they just want to try it, see what it does to the soil. So one never knows, they might start paying for it, which is always nice.
Well, yeah, that leads very nicely into a question we've had from Pete, which Pete. Pete was asking about what you see as being the future for charcoal burning, because as we know from the story of St Alexander that you mentioned earlier, you're probably not going to be around forever, are charcoal burners going to continue? And really this is a question for you as well, Myah, thinking of how youngsters like yourself could be encouraged to take this up. I mean, you seem to really enjoy it yesterday.
Yeah, it was good fun. Well, you were saying I was surprised that none of your family have gone into taking after it, but I'm sure, like you said, that you do have an apprentice and she's very interested in it, so I think it...
Yeah, but she's not interested in the charcoal.
In the burning, she does more of it,
side.
yeah.
But there are younger people coming into it. Pete, who's asked the question, I've actually just found him a ring kiln, so he can start next year. You need entrepreneurs to go into it. We need people up to 20 tonnes, 25 tonnes a year. Then we can start cracking the market a bit. It's been tried several times, but we just don't seem to get there. So it's encouragement.
Yeah, you'd be needing to do a burn like what you did last night, 3 or 4 times a week to get to that.
Yeah. Well, when we first had the retort, that's what we were doing. I was doing 4 or 5 burns a week, and it was just going out as fast as I could make it.
Do you think you could do that, Myah? Do you think you could do what you were doing yesterday 3 times a week, 3 or 4 times a week, and still get as much pleasure out of it as you did yesterday?
And saw the wood.
And saw the wood. Wow.
With a chainsaw, man.
And tear the newspaper.
Yeah. Oh, definitely get better at all of those things.
You
A
would.
chainsaw would be quicker, but obviously more lethal for me. Me to try. Well, it's quite peaceful, like you said, when you bring other work. So when it's burning, you get on with other things.
Yeah.
But you know, if not, you can just read your book.
Yeah.
And that's you know, it is quite peaceful. It's quite long hours, and it's not easy work. In that you've got to be really checking it. There was often times where I would be daydreaming, and then you would mention, oh, you need to check on it. So you really do have to keep your eye on
I mean,
it.
hearing you describe
it.
it there, and you know some of the descriptions coming from both of you, it sounds to me almost a little bit like babysitting in a way. And of course, there are loads of youngsters out there who do babysitting, and this could end up being a far more profitable endeavour. Not only that, but you're completely in control. It doesn't scream at you, does it?
Well, the gas
only when
does.
it's gas.
The gas
well, yeah, of
screams at
course,
you.
the roaring of the gas.
What I will point out is that Myah sat in front of it, feeding it. She sat down, she didn't stand up.
And this is a problem?
I like the chilled.
Oh, yeah.
I
Oh, I
like
see.
the breaks. I
I
like the
see.
tea breaks, and I like sitting down feeding it.
I mean, there were an awful lot of tea breaks.
Yeah.
There weren't many
I didn't do
ginger nut biscuits
much of the
left
sawing. I only did one bit of sawing when I realised I wasn't making it.
Jay asked us on Facebook, what's the best way to get charcoal lit without petrol or fancy equipment or anything like that? And I think you might have got the answer from the video then, because you were using that pimp.
Yeah.
Is
Which
pimp
isn't.
the name or your name?
No, pimp is the name.
It's the name.
It's
Okay.
Pimp, if you look in the dictionary, it'll say pimp that we all know, but it'll also say a bundle of twigs, and it was used for lighting kitchen ranges. The Navy was the biggest buyer for lighting ships' boilers, and the Bank of England was a big buyer for destroying banknotes. And we have met a family who've got a letter for their great-grandfather, and we were hoping to get a copy, but we haven't yet. But otherwise, with English charcoal, just newspaper, and it will light easy.
Okay. So there's not really anything fancy about this at all?
No.
I mean, because that little earth kiln that you were building with Myah at the end, I mean, I know it was a lot smaller than you would normally do, but it was kind of all being built with stuff that anybody could sort of bring into their garden.
Oh yeah.
I mean, could anybody literally try this at home?
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah.
Just build a little tiny one. Or if your mum doesn't mind or you don't mind, put it in the oven. It will cook just the same, but the smell will be quite strong.
That's fantastic. So yes, we've got lots of comments coming in at the moment, complimenting you on your wealth of knowledge. But where did you get your wealth of knowledge from? How did you get into this in the first place?
I was employed by the government to run a YTS scheme, that's Young Unemployed People, and we were doing derelict coppicing, and they were only allowed to use bill hooks and bush saws, and we built a deer fence, and then we had all the cordwood stacked up, and then some bright spark said, because this was at the Wealdon Downland Open Air Museum, and they said, can we build one of those? Which was a display of an earth kiln. So
You did?
lo and behold, we built it, lit it, and I said, well, I'll get a couple of hours kip. When I woke up, they'd all gone home. They weren't used to the dark of the countryside because they came from a big housing estate in Lee Park. So that was quite funny. And I never saw them till Monday morning. So and the first thing they wanted to know was, how much did we get? I don't know where the we came in. And then so from that, 1978, I've just kept doing them. I had the languages who were charcoal burners, her family, they gave me some advice, and then a lady called Lynn Armstrong who wrote a book on it. They're the ones that it all came from. So we're getting better and better after 40 years, so yeah.
I mean, what strikes me there is the amount of women that you're naming. because you also mentioned your apprentice, is it Rosie?
Rosie,
Who, yes, didn't take to the charcoal burning because of, I think you mentioned that it was really the earth kilns and the ring kilns, the fact that she had to get inside in order to dig them out. She didn't quite like that side of things.
No, but
although then she went and had a child, and I can't understand how you can not be okay with the muck of charcoal burning, yet okay with that muck.
Yeah, but then you get creative.
Mixed
A
standards.
life out of it instead of some charcoal.
Mixed standards, that's what it is. You were saying as well, I think, that quite a lot of young women are coming up with an interest in this.
Yeah, I get asked by, it seems to be young ladies who ask for an apprenticeship. But I'm saying now, look, I'm too old, but I spoke to Rosie the other day and we've agreed if we get somebody who's really good and keen, that will run an apprentice between the two of us. But it's finding the money for apprenticeships because it is not recognised.
So hard to find
craft
funding.
It is hard to find funding.
Oh, really? So you can't get it registered on any sort of apprenticeship
No,
scheme?
no. We struggled to get Rosie, and I had to. We were helped by different councils and other things. We got her money, but it wasn't enough, really. You know, the fee I should have been paid for doing it, I just gave to Rosie because she had 2 children to look after, and I thought, oh well, you need it more than I do. It's a bad habit, Joe says. Joe's the wife.
Who we have to thank for a very lovely lunch yesterday as well. In fact, there are lots of people to thank, I think, in the profession that you've been engaged in. I mean, we've already mentioned the Westdean estate. They don't charge you rent, is that right?
Oh, they don't charge me rent on where I'm burning.
On where you're burning.
But on my buildings they do. So.
Right, we're back. Better talk about what just happened. So yes, welcome back to the pickled, I still can't remember what it is.
The pickled
yard.
The pickled yard. We've had some very serious technical issues that we will be taking up with the providers of our broadband connection this evening, very, very soon. We're very sorry that it interrupted our conversation. We did actually get to the end of our conversation before we were able to discover what had happened. But what we've done is we've put our heads together. We've tried to remember all of the things that we went on to talk about. We're going to attempt to return to those topics. We had just finished, I think, talking about how we were very grateful to the Westdean estate for the land that they were letting you work rent-free, even if you are getting buildings there as well. I think we should also mention, was it Mark Mark
Odin,
where we are now,
NGO Forestry,
and this gamekeeping hut that we're in at the moment, which is getting more atmospheric by the minute, and certainly also Jo for the lunch and her hospitality yesterday, and I think we went on from there to talking about the sort of other ways that you get a living from charcoal burning, because it wasn't just the selling of the charcoal. There were the other things that you're or that you've been involved with, like say books and films.
Yep. Yeah. As I said before, too many of them. The articles seem to keep coming. I've got a pretty good record, but the films, Soul of Fire was one. I can't remember the others.
Where can people see these films?
They're on YouTube.
Oh, they're on YouTube?
Somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll try and find
Just
them.
like
And also
link to them then.
Wildwood Charcoal and Coppice Facebook page. I know they're on there, but as I said, I don't do any of it. Pete Etheridge puts it all together for me.
And after an evening like this, you'll probably never want to do it.
Like you said, you're not a technical man.
Definitely not. Give me a hand.
Keep it that way.
Yeah.
This is why storytellers, charcoal burners, blacksmiths, we try to steer clear of all of this and leave it to Myah and the next generation. But I think it's been amazing how many times unique skills and talents have been called upon. You were telling Myah a story yesterday about your travels around the world suddenly landing you in situations where you've been a great boon to people.
I did the Everest Marathon, 89, and got called upon to look at a charcoal thing that had gone wrong, just ring kilns. Sorted that out and thought nothing of it. They wanted to pay me and I said no. In Morocco I've looked at them, Sweden I've helped out there when they're reviving it. Japan's trying to revive all these traditional things because they're very revered charcoal burners out there for the tea ceremony and the sword making. So yeah, there's lots of different things I've helped on, and that's what life's about, I think, is helping others. I hope so anyway.
And well, have you taken money for any of those, or was it just the Everest one that you?
No, I didn't take any money for anything.
Not even the Moroccan one?
No.
Or the Japanese one?
You just help out.
You know that thing that you were saying Joe says about you?
I give away.
You give money.
Starting to understand it.
No, I don't. If somebody comes and I show them something and they say, how much do you? I said, nothing. My job now at my age is to pass on information, and that's what I do. If there's anybody generous enough going to look at this and wants to sponsor the Earthburn, would be quite willing to take some money. For once I would like to come out with some, instead of Joe and I being broke.
Yeah.
So it's there.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that this is going to be the first what's it called? Is it Coal Fest or Char Fest?
Char Fest. It's not the first. This will be the sixth one.
But it will be the first one that you're going to try and take money from. Is that right?
Yeah. We're going to be serious about taking money off people.
Which I think you need to be if you're going to be a heritage practitioner, and you know already it's quite a challenging and competitive marketplace.
Yeah.
You want to. You need to find your way to go on existing.
But interesting that we buy it from the supermarkets. Everyone buys charcoal from the supermarkets, but that's not made by you,
No,
which is a shame.
So yeah, where is that
made.
competition coming from?
It comes from third world countries and some of the big companies, but don't blame them all. But
no.
Are they producing it in the way that you do?
No, in much bigger things. The one in Germany I've seen is 7 retorts taking 70 tonne of wood a day, and it's all stuff from furniture makers, that sort of thing. And if you've seen a picture of a power station with all the guys in white overalls and dials and dots in front of them, this is what it is. That's what it's like, because the charcoal's the byproduct and the chemicals coming off, it is what they're after.
Can I just ask a question which didn't occur to me last time we were doing this, actually? So maybe this is the benefit of repeat, but you're not saying that Germany is a third world country, are you?
No. It's the only big retort one.
Oh,
I've known.
right, I see.
I have met, there's a man called GP. We call him that because we can't pronounce his name. He's Dutch. And he's a big manufacturer of big retorts, and I mean big retorts. We met him in 2015. When somebody comes up the track to the kilns, you think, who's that? And he had come to find me because they'd worked out I was old and I was doing earth burns, but I thought he'd come to look at the retort, but no, he'd come to talk about earth burns, traditional stuff, because believe it or not, in Europe there's a huge organisation, I won't even try and pronounce it and how they do, but it's European Charcoal Burners Association. Have a look at their site, it is absolutely brilliant. We joined and we've been to one out there and it's fantastic. For me to go somewhere where there's only 10 or 20 of us, and we went to one last year and there were 400 people interested in charcoal burning.
Amazing.
Fantastic. Very emotional for me.
Yeah,
so it's still very much alive on the continent then?
Yes, yeah, they're keeping it alive.
A lot of people.
They're keeping it alive.
Yeah.
And But going back to what we were talking about, the competition, I imagine they're still struggling with out there. If you've got this great big factory in Germany that's producing chemicals and charcoal is just their byproduct, is that the same as what's happening in the third world though? Are there factories where the charcoal is sort of produced almost as an afterthought, or are they doing it specifically to make the charcoal out there?
There are places just for charcoal.
Right.
So in a third world country, they're probably making it in traditional ways still, but you've got to remember that 50% of the world still cooks on wood or charcoal.
Yeah.
And that's quite a staggering amount of
That
people.
is actually
It
to
is.
think.
But
No
they've
gas.
all got mobiles.
Yeah.
That's what makes me laugh. So it is.
they do.
There are more and more people.
Not electric.
No electric. Yeah.
So yeah, we ran through some of the uses for charcoal. I mean, recapping a little bit of what you saw in the video earlier, like the obvious use of burning to smelt, like using to draw or do artworks, toothpaste, soap, biscuits, yes,
Cakes. I'm not told, but yeah.
Cakes and cheese, yeah, weird ones like that. And
medicine.
yeah, well, you mentioned compost, which surprised me at first because you'd also spoken about how people would take the soil from. Or you'd see people maybe trying to make off with the soil from a burn after a burn, and you would be sort of with a wry smile watching them go.
Well, that's because the soil looks good. It's black, and they just think, oh, that's good. But they don't realise it's absorbed all the tars and chemicals from the actual burns.
All the bad stuff.
Yeah, all the bad stuff, yeah.
It will kill their plants.
And it's the one thing that charcoal burners used to move around because they needed that covering. So, it was moved from place to place because you didn't want to be sieving it all out again and again and again from new.
And I wanted to make sure that got mentioned again because I spotted the link there with the vampire tradition. Because I know you think this is silly, but this is how folklore starts. You have some people who are going around working in the dead of night, carrying their own soil with them. And this turns into myths and folklore. So there are all sorts of legends surrounding charcoal burning. And blacksmithing and associated crafts, probably because it leaves you kind of black afterwards, doesn't it? All sorts of earthen crafts would, the smells and just the lifestyle, I guess, associated with it could nurture rumours and things. But yeah, just coming back to the part of the burn that is actually useful. Did you call it the fines?
Yeah, the fines.
So that is useful for compost?
Yes, because it's this small particles of charcoal, and it's very good for compost. It absorbs the good stuff and releases it slowly. It will store water even and do it well. That's why they use it in the chemical industry. Because it's so absorbent. There's a story in the book, my favourite book, of a half-inch piece of charcoal, 10 mil to some of you. I think I'm right. Anyway.
10, 15, something like that.
Yeah. If you can look at it under a big microscope, and I mean a big one, you've got all these little tubes running through it. Now, if you could lay them all flat, I'm told there's 3 football pitches there. How true it is, I don't know, but it's a good story.
It's a pretty big net.
That's a very big net.
And it's used for everything you use, apart from the things we've mentioned. Every pill you take has got charcoal in it. Not the way we produce it, but from the big companies. If you can ever get hold of a book called Soul of Fire, it's in there. There's a list of stuff. It's absolutely staggering. And just to mention that on Saturday we went to a book signing first time I've ever been to something like that. But the charcoal burner's there for that book, just to see it and just to be together again. It's called Charcoal and Biochar, I think, by Rebecca Oakes. And it was just great for me to be with all those charcoal burners again. The man one of the men who started me off on ring kilns was there, and he's in his late 80s now. But to go there, and I had to talk, like this, I can do it. There's nobody there. But there were people of my equal sort of thing. Yeah. So
So and that's where you were seeing lists that were including things like charcoal being used in food, and I remember asking you whether you ascribe to that, or whether you think it's one of these what they call alternative therapies. The idea of because you can fairly easily say that charcoal draws water, it draws nutrients, but does it really draw impurities out of the body when you eat it? I mean, I guess it must do if you're saying it's being used in actual tablets that people are taking.
It's also used in hospitals. If somebody's taken a poison, they make, I call it a milkshake because I don't know another name for it, and you drink it, and this charcoal will take most of the impurities out of your body.
That's amazing.
And you survive unless you've taken certain chemicals that it won't touch. But it is absorbent. It's so good.
Something to try the next time you accidentally get, I don't know, bitten by a snake or something. Maybe it'll draw.
No.
That wouldn't happen.
Can you see yourself crushing it off?
You wouldn't have time, you'd be dead.
So I think we've covered most of the things that got mentioned, except for the last one that's down here about how just how much we owe to colliery, is that what you would call
colliers? Wood
colliers. And how even though it is an ancient tradition, probably one of the oldest professions around, it must have been there even before smithing, which is something we say is the forerunner of all invention and industry. And yet it's still making progress itself, isn't it? I mean,
yes.
Okay, the retort is old if you think of the 17th century as being a while ago, but on the grand evolutionary scale that's still quite young. So it's still making progress, and it's still finding ways to become more efficient, more economical, and more ergonomical. We were talking about how this is really a renewable fuel source, isn't it?
Well, it is, because if the wood you're using will grow again, and if it's only 10 years old, it can go back into charcoal, and also that growing up to 10 years, it's absorbing carbon. So you're not going to release much, you're keeping it actually, because you're producing carbon, because that's what charcoal is, it's carbon. So it's very renewable. Is it
more efficient and economical and ergonomical than just pure wood?
Oh, definitely, yes. I'll just mention, you look for money for different things, and I always say I give away money. I did a Kickstart program because I've slept in people's huts where it's been smoky, and there's a company that makes a stove for third world countries which has a box on the back of it, and it operates the fan, but they can also run a light or charge their phone off it. And I just think it was so clever. I gave them some money. And yes, I do own one now, and I have great pleasure in showing people this. This is what you can do. And it's got 2 settings. One for simmering, move the lever, the heat comes up the middle, and you've got boiling. So it really is a good thing.
Yeah, that's very clever. Yeah, but I mean that invention is there in wood colliery as well, charcoal burning, and your retort is certainly quite young. I mean, you said you had number 1, and you're shortly to have it replaced by the prototype.
Sounds like it.
Sounds like
I don't think they want me to stop. Ever, yeah. Well, that retort is 6 years old. It's done nearly 400 burns. It's never been inside. It's never been protected, and it is looking a bit tatty. But she went. We opened it this morning,
Yeah.
and it had a load of charcoal in it. So that's the main
She did
thing.
her job.
Yeah, job done.
So yeah, there's just so much that we owe to this profession, and as we also saw from our last video with Peter, there's so much we owe to that heritage craft too. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's the reason why Dorothy Hartley was travelling around documenting as many of these practices as she could, because she recognised that these sorts of practices that people engaged in, it's not just work, it's about community, it's about lifestyle, it's about passing on a real sense of humanity in a way. So that's what we've been trying to do with this project, and we'd really like to go on with it. Sadly though, this is actually the last of the videos that are being funded by the Arts Council England at the moment for the Museum of English Rural Life. So we're very grateful to the Arts Council and the museum for helping us get to meet people like Alan and Peter, who have been ever so generous with their knowledge and their time. And I think that as well shows one of the reasons why we can't really let these heritage professions rest, because they speak to the heart of humanity, I think, with the amount of generosity that they're willing to share. And we want to be able to go on doing more videos like this, bringing more stories to you, opening up more areas of heritage crafts, and showing you more moments where the generations come together over these heritage crafts. So please make sure that you're following us on Facebook or Twitter, or subscribe to us here on YouTube. This may well be the last of the Arts Council funded videos, but we're very much hoping it's not the last of the videos whatsoever. And we've already had Alan there mention Kickstarter. You may well start to see a few requests coming from us to you to see if you can help us in a Kickstarter program to get Myah a few more apprenticeships and to get a few more stories for you. Right now though, it only remains for us to say another huge thank you to the Westdean Estate, and to Mark, and to Joe, and to Alan for all of his time and help, Myah for all of her time and energy and just enthusiasm, and you guys for bearing with us and watching and sending in your questions. And we very much hope to come back to you soon. So cheerio for now.
Bye-bye.